Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 in a best of 3 between Fussel and Cadilakor in the quarterfinals of Herr Grand Tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Medere, and on the allied side the 4th Armoured under command of Fussel, and on the Axis side Cadilakor is using the 17th SS-Panzergrenadier. Now, I'm not sure how far back this game goes, but if this is a 4th Armoured game before some of the changes in the latest patch, then we may be seeing a very powerful division right here. I think the 4th Armoured as they currently stand is still relatively strong, definitely top tier, but before it was nerfed, was even more strong. So this is something that we will have to keep in mind as we watch this replay. So Fussel here, with the 4th Armoured, of course, does have Abrams early on, and I believe he has placed it down. Indeed, he has. He's got the Bantams. They can be very effective, very fast-moving units. With the 50 cal, has armor as well. Great for just running down infantry units and causing absolute havoc everywhere. There is, of course, Hellcats, but I think it's less likely we'll see them in this terrain. And, of course, B-26B Marauders. Those could also be something that we see throughout. On the side of the 17th SS, everybody knows that they're known for their Nebelwerfers. And they also have their Stug 3 in Phase A. That 2-star Stug 3 could actually make quite a big difference, especially if it starts to clean up some of the units that Fussel is relying upon. But I think if Fussel maybe relies on, say, M8 Cavalries, for example, then he could use that mobility to really exploit the Stug 3's weakness, which is that it's a self-propelled AT gun, and therefore has to move its entire body in order to aim at its target. Let's have a look at what's actually going down though. We do see that there is a Bantam and Abrams there. It's going to be multiple rifles. Looks like Fussel's just going to spam the front line with rifles. There's going to be a command there going with some as well. Further down, more rifles, command recon, and then the Bantam. So yeah, very large focus on infantry early on, with a couple of power points in Abrams there and the Bantams. Over on the side of Cadilakor, on the top side, we have 2 units of Stoss Troop. Going to be an IG-18 there with a unit of Panzergrenadiers and the Spear Troop. Going to be some AA off the bat, possibly worried about the B-26B becoming an issue. 2 units of Stoss Troop, Panzergrenadiers and the command, followed up by what could be a Nebelwerfer. Yep, it is going to be one. And then we have further down Spear Troop, Panzergrenadiers, and on the bottom side Stoss Troop, Panzer Schreck, and a Spear Troop. So a very sort of spread start from Cadilakor, and I believe Fussel will be doing roughly the same, although keeping his units a little bit more concentrated based on where the roads are heading early on. I do find that Fussel has been kind of deploying quite far up. It's something you can definitely punish if you have units that can engage at 1,000 meter range straight away. But in this case, I think Fussel's going to get away with it. Bantam is going to be trying to push that top side, supporting the rifles. Can possibly help clean up this IG-18. At least pin it down very quickly. The IG-18, though, if it gets a couple shots off, might kill the Bantam, because I believe it doesn't have any rear armor, so if a shot lands in the right place, that Bantam could say bye-bye. By the way, Abrams has now come up to join the party as well. He's going to pin down those Panzergrenadiers very quickly. Rifles now pushing aggressively, will eventually bump into the Spear Troop and the Stoss Troop though. and that is an engagement that will definitely fall in favour of Cadilakor if the Stosstroop are used correctly. I think if the smoke comes down in a nice way, I think Cadilakor would be able to get like the 2-on-2 or even the 2-on-1 engagement with these rifles and start killing those off, removing that support from these vehicles. But if we sort of analyse what Fussel is doing here, you can see it's something that Cadilakor kind of suffered with in the previous game. He pushed forwards with his 2 Stuart 5s and didn't really supplement enough infantry to safely move forwards. Whereas in this case, Fussel is screening his Abrams with all of these rifles, and by doing so allows him to spot the Stosstroop as he continues to push forwards, and also any Panzerschrecks and things that would potentially threaten those units. Lovely Nebelwerfer there in the mid though from Cadilakor. Does actually manage to kill off the command, which is very significant, and the 2 rifles are now falling back, but nothing really to exploit the fact that they are falling back. And one issue is that these Stosstroop, they've already been forced to use a couple of grenades. They just seem to be being spotted by the Bantam and these rifles as they continue to charge forwards. And that means that they're never going to be able to be in position to ambush Abrams. And that's really what they need to do. They also need to engage these rifles without being under the fire support of the Bantam or Abrams. And that's even harder to do, especially considering these units have been used very well so far. And also Cadilakor would need to outnumber Fussel if he wants that to work, which he doesn't. These rifles being 12 strength squads is pretty tough actually. So now the Bantam on the bottom side getting involved. Speartroop going to be pinned. Panzergrenadiers now coming under fire from 2 units of rifles, and it seems like for every unit that Cadilakor has, Fussel has 2 in the early phases of the game here. His Abrams is going to take out one of the Pak-38s as well. I like how Cadilakor reacted with 2 Pak-38s, not just 1. But allowing one to be engaged on its own did kind of negate that choice. You can see the double Stosstroop versus the rifles. This is exactly what you want to see, a 2v1. It's absolutely perfect for ripping these rifles to shreds. And you can see just how quickly they do die. And the Grenadiers now engaging the rifles there. Another Pak-38 going to be pinned down in the face of an M4. But consolation prize for Cadilakor, Stosstroop does take out the Bantam. That flak filling though not going to have much of these rifles at close range. Look how much damage that's going to do. Surrenders them almost immediately. Pak-38 does just about get out of there. But that Pak-38 not really going to be able to engage anytime soon. It will have to probably hide, go on to return fire, hope for the best. Hope that there's no sort of real recon that can press aggressively. Now the rifles there managing to take out one of the Stosstroop is very nice. M21 mortar carrier will be able to help out on this top side. So I like that choice as well from Fussel. There just seems to be a lot of pressure, and again trades in the early game have already seemed to favour Fussel. The Abrams here has just done so much damn work. IG and Stosstroop and all kind of stuff have already died. And that's not really what Cadilakor wants. He's now had to invest in 50 points into this Opel Blitz munition as well, in a time where he really needs more infantry on the field. But even if he did bring in infantry at this point, he doesn't really have the ranged AP to take care of things like Bantams. So the Bantams can just continue to fire at, Speartroop and Panzergrenadiers with their 50 cals, whilst not being under threat themselves, and that's not something you can really let them get away with. You'd need to bring in some sort of cheap tank or cheap AT to accompany this line, otherwise you're just going to get completely overrun when your infantry gets pinned down. Nebelwerfer is going to be reloaded though, and we can see now more infantry for Fussel coming in on the top side. It doesn't do anything in halves, to tell you that much. That's a lot of infantry heading Cadilakor's way. It's got another couple heading towards the mid to accompany the armoured leader that's already here. And a +1 now on the board for Fussel, counting over 100 points. At this range, things are ideal, because although the BAR and the M1 Garands are the only things that are firing, it's still 8 HE at the end of the day, and that's not too shabby at all. Or Ju-87 there comes in, gets the bailout onto Abrams. That's very important indeed. Nicely done. Now mortar carrier going to be coming on to the top of the Panzergrenadier as the infantry get killed off there. The Stoss troop died. That Panzergrenadier probably just going to be surrendered as the rifles discover it. And that's going to give over quite a significant amount of territory. Also 2 more Stoss troop dead, so that gives him a little bit more breathing room, that Fussel that is, to play around, knowing that a lot of these Stoss troop are already dead, because there is obviously a limited amount that you can gain access to in Phase A as the 17th SS. So Stoss troop trying once again up against these rifles. We should really watch the progress here. You can see that both squads losing men at roughly the same time, but as the rifles lose more and more men, the Stoss troop become even more effective. The main issue here is that in a 2v1, like eventually 5 men are going to die in the face of 20. It's obviously a big difference. So there we go. And with the help of the M21, that's going to be taken care of. Nebelwerfer engages on the bottom side again, but the M8 cavalry does manage to not get fallen back. Same with the Bantam actually. And although both these rifles are pinned, they are covered by the armoured leader, so that's not going to matter. Just Fussel in such a good, strong position at the moment. M21 mortar carrier comes in, takes out the Pak-38. No problemo. Just a series of really bad trades here for Cadilakor. Just didn't have the answer he needed early enough for Abrams. And had he brought in the Ju-87 much sooner, when he actually just saw that, it might have given him a chance to kind of hold that top side for a longer amount of time, but I guess it does depend. It mainly would depend on whether or not the 4th Armoured actually brings any fighters in Phase A, which Fussel might not. He might just have B-26Bs, or maybe not even anything. M8 cavalry though here has pushed quite aggressively. Looks like the Opel Blitz munition has picked up the Nebel. Really smart move with the Nebel is to pick them up, just give an unloaded position command somewhere else, and then when it unloads it will just reload again, and then you have it ready next time you want it. So M8 cavalry is really trying hard to get onto this 2-2-3. I think with the help of the WC-52 it might just. M8 cavalry going to be engaging the Stoss troop. Does have to be a little bit wary of that. Doesn't want to get caught out. Now we see the Stug 3 F8 on the way from the 17th. Like Cadilakor had enough of all this pesky armour. It's finally coming in. We aren't even into Phase B yet. And Fussel is pushing this +2, which is looking to be a +3 pretty shortly, especially with the rifles pushing into this town onto already pinned Panzergrenadiers and the spear troop, and it just seems like there's nothing that Cadilakor can do right now to bring this back. He can try and get a nice triple strike with the Ju-87 onto Abrams, maybe onto the M21, but with the CGMC now in play, that really does cover the top side very well for Fussel, so fantastic job there. 2-2-3 is going to get strafed. Fussel trying to get the cavalry scouts in there with the bazooka. No need to ever force an engagement, for example, with this M8 cavalry. When you've got bazookas, other things to work with, especially those planes, if they come in and bomb these units, they get automatically stuck behind enemy lines, and then you can just make them surrender. So that's one thing that you can do for sure. Cadilakor here has brought up the 2-star Stug though. Whether or not that actually does enough remains to be seen. And look how many units Cadilakor has on the map right now. It's like barely any. One Stoss troop holding the bottom side. On the top side, Stoss troop not even holding the front line. Panzergrenadiers are instead. And as they come under fire from these rifles, you can see they do take some damage. It's really going to be enough, especially at that range. Stoss troop just can't use their weapons unless they are within 100 meter range, and that's actually pretty difficult to micro sometimes. Yes, you have smoke, But in those sorts of engagements where you're engaging through tree lines and such, it makes a huge difference. Now the JU, or the P-38, sorry, coming in with the old 15 HE power bombs. Fussel going to be pushing aggressively with the M8 cavalry to try and find a kill. Is actually going to be forced to engage the 222 first of all. If the 222 gets dealt with, then Cadilakor is free to keep pursuing the Stug 3. But since the Stug 3 is now behind enemy lines, it's going to take a while to fall back, and the Bantam is running it down. So it may be only a matter of time until the Bantam surrenders a Stug 3. Meanwhile, M8 cavalry pushing aggressively onto the Nebelwerfer. It's not going to have time to fire its shots where it wants to. So, nice job there by the M8 cavalry on the top side. You can see that the Stug did get surrendered by the Bantam. Just nothing that Fussel could do there. P-38 now engaging Ju-87. Focke-Wulf 190 also suffering. And look at that. With the Nebelwerfer dying there, with some more infantry dying. Huge salient +3 in favour of Fussel, and that's actually going to force Cadilakor to surrender after 12 minutes and 44 seconds. And once again, a spectacular KD for Fussel with 885 kills to 230 losses, making Cadilakor look less than ideal, that's for sure. Especially considering Cadilakor is a very good player. Of course, this was played months ago, so who knows exactly how good they were at the time. But Fussel certainly showing how he works. Abrams killed the Pak-38 and the flak fling. The fact that Abrams was just face tanking those AT guns without caring was just what you generally see, but it always baffles me when AT guns suffer against a tank that initiated the engagement. Either way, M8 cavalry cleaning up the Stug 3 there, got credited for the surrender. And just so many significant kills onto fire support, onto the Stoss troop. Like killing so many Stoss troop early on just really made it difficult for Cadilakor to get any ambushes off or have the infantry needed to really deal with the overwhelming amount of rifles that Fussel was sending his way. Either way, yeah, the kills on his side of things weren't very much at all. Like, yes, sometimes his Stoss troop got the better of the rifles, but for Cadilakor, things didn't really go too well in that game at all. And that's pretty much it. Congratulations to Fussel. Wins the quarterfinal, is going to be up against Dnester in the semi-final. Commiserations to Cadilakor. Finishes the tournament. Managed to get to the quarterfinal though, defeating two decent opponents. So hats off to him. Still did very well. I'm looking forward to that Dnester Fussel game. Hopefully it's quite nice and exciting. I realise both of these games in this series have been relatively short, but sometimes one player is just better than the other, and especially when they show it dominantly like this, it's quite a joy to watch. Just somebody pull someone apart, completely dismantle them with their own strategy. Like initial strategy and deployment, I think is one thing that's very important in Steel Division, and watching that from the best players, regardless of how long the game is also is a good way to learn it. But yeah, that's all for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.